Steelers Talk by Chat Sports is the fastest growing Steelers channel on YouTube, adding almost 1,000 subscribers just last week during the 2023 NFL Draft. If you want to join our family of over 25,000 Yinzers in the comment section, make sure to click that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you always know when we put out our free videos here on YouTube. Welcome into Steelers Talk, Yinzers. My name is Jack Sperry, your host. On today's show, I'm going to be breaking down some post-NFL draft free agency targets for your Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers did a really good job at addressing their needs in this year's NFL draft. Omar Khan seems to really be fitting in nicely into that GM chair, but there are some good names still out there on the open market that I think the Steelers will consider. Can't wait to break it down with you guys, but first, I want to remind you that on Wednesdays here on the channel, we go live. We're going to be going live at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. Me and Chugs are going to be breaking down the draft class for the Steelers. We're going to be talking about how great of a job Omar Khan did over this past weekend. And, of course, you will have your opportunity to get your questions on this week's Steelers Live mailbag. So make sure you set a reminder. 4 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow is when we're going to be going live. And before I get into some of these NFL free agency targets for your Steelers, I want to put a little disclaimer here that I'm not necessarily advocating for the Steelers to add somebody else in free agency. I think they could go with their current roster right now into the preseason, essentially pretty much set. They, like I said in the draft, they did a really good job at addressing their needs, so they don't necessarily need to add any of these players, but I think these are the names that could be on the Steelers' radar if it's for the right price. So let's start with some edge rushers here, where there's still some really, really good names still on the open market. Guys like Yannick Ngakoue and Justin Houston, guys that have been super, super effective and productive in the NFL for a very long time at this point. Leonard Floyd is a really good fit for what the Steelers are looking for there in their defense. Same thing with Robert Quinn and Frank Clark, guys that are veterans, guys that can come in and be a nice rotational piece behind TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith. Now, you do bring in Nick Herbig in the NFL draft there in the 4th round. Hopefully he can be a really nice piece for you, so I don't necessarily think you need to add another piece in this room. But other than Herbig, like if one of these guys gets hurt, there's not a whole lot of depth here. David Perales, an undrafted free agent, is someone I'm really excited about heading into camp, but you do want some depth along the defensive line here. I know that Omar Khan and Andy Weidel have really stressed the importance of depth on both the offensive and defensive line. So even though you drafted Nick Herbig to be your rotational pass rusher next year, you could certainly go ahead and add another veteran in free agency. So should the Steelers sign another edge rusher heading into the 2023 NFL season? Type Y if you think yes, or type N if you think no. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So whenever you get an ad break here, just do me a favor, find that comment that's going to be right at the top of the comment section and answer today's question. So if I would have my pick of those edge rushers to pick up here in free agency, I would bring in Justin Houston. Now, he played with the Ravens last year, and he's been a very productive player in the National Football League for a very long time now. He's a long-time pro, long-time veteran. Right, last year 9.5 sacks in 14 games played for the Ratbirds. Maybe you can bring him on to the good side here, bring him to the black and gold as a nice rotational piece. I think he could get you a good 8-9 sacks in that rotational role. Could be a really good mentor as well for Nick Herbig moving into the future. He's somebody that I think if you bring him in, he's going to be a really good piece for you. And if I had my choice of these 5 gentlemen here on the screen, I would pick Justin Houston, but obviously I don't want to overpay for him. So Joey Porter Jr. was selected at the top of round 2 of the 2023 NFL Draft, and he is coming home. He is going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. And if you ask me, he was born to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. It was destiny. So if you want an officially licensed Joey Porter Jr. jersey, we actually have them on pre-order at the Chat Sports website right now. You can go to chatsports.com/Joey Porter Jr. We don't know the number that he's going to be wearing yet. I think he's negotiating with Chris Boswell, trying to get the number 9. It'd be kind of cool if he wore number 55, his dad's old number, but or 5, kind of like a junior version of 55. That'd be certainly cool. I've seen 2 thrown out as an idea out there. Still don't know that yet. That's why they're pre-order here. But if you want to make sure that you get a Joey Porter jersey here for the 2023 season, you can get yours today here, chatsports.com/Joey Porter Jr. These things are going to go fast. They're already going very fast. Very popular item here, so make sure you get yours today. Another position that they could look to maybe add some help here is quarterback, because right now the Steelers only have 3 quarterbacks on their entire roster. I think Teddy Bridgewater, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, and Chase Daniel are some names to be considering here, some names to look out for, because right now you got Kenny Pickett. He's locked in as your number 1 quarterback, your starter for next season. I'm very excited for his future. But then you got Mitchell Trubisky and just Tanner Morgan, an undrafted free agent there. It's very possible that the Steelers just carry Kenny and Mitch heading into next season. But going into the preseason, you usually like to have at least 4 quarterbacks on the roster. And, bringing a guy like Teddy Bridgewater, who might win that backup spot, if it's not going to cost the Steelers too much. The Steelers don't have a ton of cap space to work with right now. But bringing in a guy like Carson Wentz, somebody like Matt Ryan, one of these guys that has experience, I think that would be a good thing for this locker room, a good thing for maybe even Tanner Morgan. And, the more veteran help for Kenny Pickett that the Steelers can get into that locker room for the preseason, I think would be a good thing. It'll be interesting to see if the Steelers add another quarterback during this process. And then nose tackle is another position that the Steelers could address. You did draft Keanu Benton, who I think is their plan to be their starting nose tackle next year at 310 pounds. But Shelby Harris is another defensive line player that's played in the league for a long time, and he's still available on the free agent market. Not exactly sure where he would fit on the Steelers defensive line. He's usually played 3 technique throughout his career, so I'm not sure if he could really fill that nose tackle role. I think Keanu Benton would do a pretty darn good job as a rookie there right in the middle of the Steelers defense, but you never know. Shelby Harris is a good player. He is somebody with a lot of experience playing in this league, and if the Steelers decide to sign him for maybe a vet minimum contract, I think that'd be a good thing, and just adding even more depth on that interior of the defensive line. And then another position that you could also consider here, slot cornerback. Casey Hayward Jr., just released by the Atlanta Falcons, has played in the slot, has played outside, has that versatility there. And then also Bryce Callahan, out of the Chargers from last season. Both of these players are still pretty good, and I still think that they could have some value in the National Football League, but I think that signing a slot corner for the Steelers is probably unlikely at this point. You just signed Chandon Sullivan, a former Vikings slot cornerback. I think this was probably the move here. So I think if they were planning on adding a slot cornerback in free agency to start, it's going to be Chandon Sullivan and not one of those other guys I mentioned. But I really do think that Patrick Peterson is going to be playing a very specialized nickel role this season, so maybe Chandon or Arthur Maulet can be kind of that dime backer, but I really think that when the Steelers are in their nickel sets, it's going to be Joey Porter Jr. and either Ahkello Witherspoon or Levi Wallace on the outside, with Patrick Peterson playing more of a nickel star role where he can kind of roam around the defense and just kind of screw stuff up for the opposing offense. Really think that's going to be an exciting defense and secondary for the Steelers coming up this year. Can't wait to see how that unfolds over the preseason and into the season. Then another position that I think is a little bit more unlikely for the Steelers to bring in here is strong safety. Adrian Amos and John Johnson, former starters, are still on the free agent market. Good players, might be a little bit more expensive, however, and I think the Steelers are pretty darn good at safety right now. I think they're going to be playing a lot of 2 high safety sets here going into the season with Minkah Fitzpatrick and Devontae KZ out there. When they do go to those 1 high safety sets, I think Minkah will play that true center field role, and then they'll bring in Keanu Neal as kind of that Terrell Edmunds hybrid linebacker role. Of course, I think you're going to see a lot of that 3 safety package heading into next season as well, where you got Fitzpatrick, KZ, and Neal on the field at the same time. That'll definitely be interesting to see how Mike Tomlin plans on deploying these safeties. I don't really think they need another name here, but it wouldn't shock me if they want to go get a real good player like Adrian Amos if they can get him for the right price. So should the Steelers sign another free agent in this year's NFL free agency? And if so, which NFL free agent should the Steelers sign? Should it be another backup quarterback? Should it be maybe an edge rusher to help out Nick Herbig in his development? Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Can't wait to see what you guys have to say about this topic. And now I got another question for you. Are you a real one? The real ones here at Steelers Talk, they know the drill. They subscribe to the channel. They like the video. They get in the comments section and answer our weigh-in questions every single time. They watch to the end of the video, so shout out to all the real ones that are still here watching today's video. And then they go follow me on Twitter at Jack_Sperry for additional Steelers content and announcements for this channel. When we go live, all that different stuff, I put a bunch of different Steelers and Steelers Talk content up on my Twitter. So real real one roll call here. If you are a real one and made it to the end of today's show, make sure that you type real one in all caps so to identify yourselves in the comment section. Really do appreciate every single person that watches to the end of these videos. It really does help us out here. That's going to be it for today's show, guys. I really do appreciate you guys stopping by today. And as always, here we go, Steelers.